All right, so we're working on packet tracer 2.5.5. This is the first thing that's gonna show up right here. You can just click OK if you see this window. The activity will reset, that's fine. We haven't done anything on it yet. And I'm actually gonna close this because I have two of them open. Okay, here you go. If you have a wide enough screen, if you have two monitors, then you can move the instructions to one monitor. But if you only have one monitor, then just move the instructions to one side of the screen, and then you can have the other side for the virtual environment. That's usually what I do. Now they're gonna try to give you a scenario so you can visualize yourself like if you were actually working as a network administrator. You can read that if you want to, but I usually skip to the instructions. Sometimes it's gonna tell you like, well, on the labs, it's gonna give you a logical topology of the devices. But here, everything's already connected, so we just need to configure the device. So the first thing is asking you to do is enter privilege exec mode. It'll give you some information, but then it's gonna give you the steps. Click S1 and then CLI tab. So because we're in packet tracers, it's not gonna ask you to connect through the console line. Here you can just click on the device just to speed things up, and it'll bring you to the CLI. Sometimes you'll see other tabs. If you see other tabs, just click on CLI. That'll give you access to the operating system. Here you can just hit enter to get rid of the information it gives you. I like to hit enter and get rid of all the other information that way it looks blank and I can start from scratch. So it says in the beginning is gonna give you the actual commands that you need to use. Later on is gonna assume that you already know those commands. It's just gonna tell you enter privilege exec mode, and that's it. But here's telling you how to do it. And so easy peasy, enable, you're gonna use the enable command. And now we're in privilege mode. So now I can move on to the next step. And it gives you a little message here. Notice that the prompt changed to reflect the privilege exec mode. All right, so I'll move on to the next step. Enter the show running config command. This command shows you the configurations that are already set in the running configuration. This is on RAM. This is what the device is currently using as the configurations to operate, okay? So you can do show running dash config is the proper command, the entire command. Or you can use the shortcut, right? Show run. The operating system is gonna know which command you're trying to use because it's the only keywords that start with RUN, okay? So now you get to see the configurations, all the configurations on the device. You'll notice it says more because there's too many to show on one page. You can either hit enter to go to the next line, or you can hit space to get to the next page. Sometimes I just go space, space, space until I get to the very end, and then I scroll up to where I need to be. Okay? So show running config, good. It's asking you how many fast Ethernet interfaces does the switch have? I might upload all the Word documents so you can answer this with you can print these instructions and write down the answers if you want to, okay? But this is not gonna be graded. How many fast Ethernet interfaces do you see? Okay, so let's look at the configurations. This is the fast Ethernet. This is the physical interfaces that you have on the device. So, and they're numbered. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 24 fast Ethernet interfaces. There's 100 megabit per second interfaces. So I know that physically this device has 24 fast Ethernet interfaces. And this guy might ask how many gigabit internet interfaces. This is a 1,000 megabit per second interface. It has 2 of those. Some switches might not have a gigabit interface, something that you might have to add to it. What is the range of values shown on the VTY lines? Okay, that's your virtual lines. You have, it's showing you two sets of information, but altogether is 0 through 15 virtual lines, right? They're like this one, they're just virtual, right? That's so you can remote into the device. And let's say you had 16 administrators, then each one of the administrators can use one virtual line, right? But you have to count that 0 as one of the lines. So here it's just saying you have 0 through 4 and 5 through 15. So altogether 16 lines. That's gonna be your answer there.
I got one question for you. Does that rule also apply to where it says like fast Ethernet 0 of 24? Does that mean there's actually 25?
No.
Or is that's what that is? 24?
These are your physical interfaces. Those are gonna be separate from your virtual interfaces.
Okay, I follow.
So these are completely separate. Okay. So
Okay.
that's 16 virtual interfaces. Okay. And this virtual interfaces here are specifically for you to remote into the device. You can have other virtual interfaces like this one, interface VLAN 1. That is going to be for you to use similar to the way you use this one for networking, okay? We'll get into that later. But for now, let's continue. Which command will display the current contents of the non-volatile random access memory, NVRAM? Oh, sorry, I clicked. Give me a second. All right, so the question is, which command will display the current contents of the non-volatile random access memory, NVRAM? Now remember that if it says volatile, that's the RAM, that's the running config, and that's what if you remove the power from the device, everything that's on there is gonna get erased. That's why it says volatile. Okay, so that's memory that requires power to retain the information that's on it. Okay, volatile. If it says non-volatile, that's gonna be more of your permanent memory. This is gonna be your memory chip that is embedded on your device and can hold memory even after you remove the power from there. Okay, non-volatile RAM. So when you first configure the device, there will be no configuration saved to the permanent memory. The only configurations you'll have access to is the running configurations, which is the configuration that's in your RAM, your volatile memory, and is the configurations that the device is using to work from, okay? And while you're changing things and while you're configuring the device, you'll be making changes to your running configuration, which is on your volatile memory. But as soon as you save the configurations using the copy running config to startup config, now you're saving your configurations to your permanent memory, and then you'll have a document there to be able to see. But for now, they're asking which is the command to display this document. So command is going to be show startup config. All right. So if you do that, you hit enter, it's going to tell you startup config is not present because we haven't stored anything yet on your non-volatile memory. And that's the next question. Why does the switch respond with startup config is not present? Because we haven't stored anything yet. Okay. So let's move on to part 2. And this one's step 1. Assign a name to the switch. Easy. All right. It's going to tell you there on the actual, it's going to give you an example of the commands you need to use. It's not going to do that on every packet tracer. So I'm going to move to global configuration mode by typing config T, which is shortcut for configure terminal. And then the keyword is host name, and they want us to call it. When you're working on packet tracers, you need to name things exactly like what they're asking you for. Because you'll notice at the bottom right corner of the instructions, it will say completion, and they'll give you a percentage, right? So if you name something differently, if I do S2, it's not gonna give me a grade for that. But if I name it what it's supposed to be, S1, capital S, with the number 1, it should give me a grade, and you'll see that it says 6% done. That's 6% of the entire lab completed. All right, so I'm done with the first part. All I had to do is host name for the keyword, letting the operating system know that I'm trying to change the name of the device, and then the name that I'm trying to give it. And you'll notice that the prompt changed, and now instead of switch, it's gonna say S1, and then what mode you're in. Okay, so next, secure access to the console line. Now, if you were listening to my lecture, then you have to go into line console 0. You have to go into the mode to configure the console port, which is the port you're gonna use to physically connect to the device if it has no configurations on it yet. Then the password is gonna be Cisco, I believe. No, let me in. So password let me in. Again, it has to be exactly like they have it there, or else you won't get a grade for it. And the keyword is password, letting the operating system know that I'm trying to set up a password, and the password that you're trying to set up is let me in. Now, even though you said password and let me in, you created the password, you still have to enable it by typing the keyword login. All right, once you have done that, then you can move back to global configuration mode using the exit command, and then you can do exit again to go back to privilege mode. And this a message that gives you is not an error message, it's just telling you what's happening. Okay, and we'll go over how to read those messages later. Why is the login command required is the question you're going to get on this packet tracer. I already explained that. You need, the password is not going to be enabled unless you type in login. All right, so verify the console access is secured. To do this, you can go back, you can hit exit, and completely get out of the operating system and try to go back in there. And when you hit enter, the first thing it's going to tell you to type in is the password. So the password was let me in. You'll notice that when I was typing, you didn't see anything on the screen. It hides any information under, so even though you're typing, it's not gonna show up. Then you hit enter, and now you're back into user exec mode. Now, something that you need to know is that if you try to remote in through a virtual line, there's not gonna be a password, so you'll have access to everything if you haven't set up the password yet. The console password only secures the connection when you connect to it physically through the console port. That's the only thing is securing. All right, verify. We have verified. We had to input the password. So moving on to step 4, secure privilege mode access. Okay, so again, you have to do this from global configuration mode. I guess get started there. So we need to move there first. Go enable to go to privilege mode. Configure terminal is the entire command to go to global configuration mode. Once you're here, you go into the mode you're trying to get. So verify that privilege mode is secure. Wait, what? Give me a second. Oh, secure privilege mode access. So to get to privilege mode, when you type enable, you need to secure that too. And the keyword, you do this from global configuration mode, the keyword is going to be enable. The operating system is going to know that you're trying to work on the password for the enable privilege mode, okay? So you have 2 options. You can do password and then the password. This is not going to be encrypted, not recommended. Or you can do secret. So are they asking us to do, yeah, it's saying secure. So that's the keyword. If they say secure privilege mode, they're asking you for an encrypted password. So you have to type in secret. Secret, and then the password they're giving us is Charlie1 $, Charlie0. And then that's it. You hit enter. This one you don't have to enable, is enabled automatically. So if you go exit and go back to user exec mode, they're gonna ask us, let me in is the password here. Let me in. Okay, now when I try to go to enable, so to privilege mode with the keyword enable or the shortcut EN, is gonna ask me for another password. And this is gonna be the password we just created. It's gonna be Charlie1 $, Charlie0. And then it's gonna allow you in, and you can do anything you want from here. No more passwords after that. All right. Next is step 5. Verify that privilege mode access is secure. We did that. Good. Moving on. We did that by going back, right? And you can also do show running. Okay, so I have a few questions. Let's answer that. The first password is the console password you configured for line con0. Enter this password to return to, okay, it's just giving us the step. And then if you go to show running configuration, show running config, we can see here we have the enable secret password, right? It's just gibberish because it's encrypted. So, but that's how we can tell there's a password there. And to see what the password is for the console line, we scroll all the way to the bottom. You'll see a space there, or a spot where it says interface, line console 0, and it's gonna tell you what the password is. Let me in. That is not encrypted yet, okay? Configure encrypted password to secure access to privileged mode. All right, so give me a second while I figure out what they're asking here, what the difference is between. Okay. So on step 4, they want us to create a password that was not encrypted, okay? That was using the enable password command. Step 6, they're asking us to encrypt it, create a different password, and this one is encrypted using the secret command or keyword, all right? We already did it, but we did the wrong password for this one. So we're gonna have to do both of them. And you can just replace the configurations that you already have there by just typing a new configuration. So for enable secret, right now we have a different password, but we can just type in it's a secret, and that's gonna replace what we already have there. No need for us to erase it. Now, if we wanted to erase the command that we had already done, then you can go and put no in front of it, and the rest is gonna be exactly the same. And that's gonna remove the configuration and bring it back to default. But right now,
how did you do the, I think I messed up like you were saying earlier, because it's now looking for a domain server.
right, so that's Control Shift 6 will cancel that.
Control Shift 6.
Yep. Whenever you type in a keyword or incorrectly or anything weird like that, it's gonna think you're looking for a domain, and it's gonna take a while. So to cancel that, you do Control Shift 6. All right. So again, if you just type in enable secret and the new password is just gonna replace whatever password was there already. So we're gonna type in the right password just so we can get a grade for it. And then we're gonna create the other password, which you can have both set up on here. And we're gonna put password. This one's not gonna be encrypted. And this is gonna be the one that's Charlie1 $, Charlie0. All right, now this one's not encrypted. Now if I go back, exit, and I do show running config, show run, shortcut, then you'll notice that both passwords are there. One's encrypted, the other one is not encrypted. If you have both passwords for the same thing, which is privileged mode, right? Mm-hmm. The encrypted one is the one the operating system is going to be looking for, okay? It's going to completely ignore the other one that's not encrypted. So when you try to go into privilege mode, even though you have 2 passwords there you go. So here we're in the console line. I'm going to type in let me in. Now that I try to go to enable, the password that is going to ask me for is going to be the encrypted one, not the one that is not encrypted. For that, that's going to be it's a secret. And then it's going to let me in. Now, I do have a question. If I type in the other password, will it let me in? Let me in. The other password is going to be Charlie1 $Charlie0. And it doesn't. It's going to ask for that secret password, the one that is encrypted. Okay, now we can move on. The enable secret password overrides the enable password, all right? Verify that the enable secret password is added to the configuration file. You do that by doing the show run command, which is a shortcut for show running configuration. What is displayed for the enable secret password? Gibberish, a whole bunch of numbers and characters. Why is the enable secret password displayed differently from what we configured? Because it's encrypted. Encrypt the enable and console passwords. Okay, so that's, if we do show run, again, you notice enable password is not encrypted, and line console 0 password, that one's not encrypted too. If you want to encrypt all the passwords in the device, the command you would use is service password -encryption, right? This will encrypt the other passwords. So if I go back, exit, and do show run again, you'll notice that enable secret is now encrypted and enable password is encrypted. Even though they're both encrypted, the operating system is still gonna ask for that other password if they're both enabled, okay? If you have two passwords on there, it's gonna ask for the secret password, not the normal password. Scroll down, line console 0, that one is also encrypted, all right? So the command was, again, service password encryption, and between password and encryption, you have a dash, so don't forget that, because if you do, service password encryption is gonna give you an error. Invalid input detected. Here, there's something wrong with this, is what it's saying. It needs this command right here. If you configure any more passwords on the switch, will they be displayed in the configuration file as plain text? So now that you have service password encryption, it should encrypt everything else that you do. So for example, if I do line VTY 0 through 15, I do password Cisco, this is for my remote lines, right? If I'm trying to remote in through the network. Okay, and I do login to enable it. Go back to privilege mode, show running configuration. That password is also gonna be encrypted. You can see here where the password for all the lines 0 through 15 are encrypted. All right, so now next is the banner, and you'll notice that we have 34% on there. Hopefully we've done everything so far. So the banner, again, is a message that you're gonna place on as soon as you connect to the device. You're gonna see this message. You can either give a warning to somebody trying to get into the device, saying only authorized personnel, or you can leave a message there for a different system administrator that is gonna be connecting to this. So the command is gonna be through global configuration mode, banner, MOTD, message of the day, and then whatever message, since we're working on a packet tracer, has to be exactly like it's there. You can just copy and paste. And they're using a quotation mark. I'm just gonna copy, if I can, Control C. And then I can right click, I believe I can I can right click and paste, or I can hit the button there that says paste. And that should paste all the configuration, but you'll notice that I have two quotations here. So if I leave those two quotations there, it's gonna think that my message starts where that first quotation starts and then ends where my second one is. Gonna ignore everything else. So I'm gonna go back and erase that. I'm using those quotations there as the delimiter character. This tells the operating system, this is where my message starts and this is where it ends. You can use any character for that. You can use the letter C. If I use the letter C, the problem would be that it would think that I'm starting here and ending here. That's why you use something that's not gonna be inside your message. So right now, quotation is gonna work. It's telling the operating system, my message starts here, it ends here. I hit enter, and I should see my completion percentage change, but it didn't, so there's something wrong here. Unless, look. I misspelled banner. All right, so let me go back to that, scroll all the way back, banner, enter. Now it worked. Now I got a percentage for it. Now I can move on. And exit, they want us to exit and verify. Exit, go all the way back. I'm back at the screen you see as soon as you connect. Hit enter, and you're gonna notice this is a secure system, authorized access only. If you want to get a grade for this on the packet tracer, you have to make sure that you type it exactly like you're seeing it. All right, so this should be let me in password, and then enable should be it's a secret. All right, moving on. Save and verify configuration. So now they're asking us to save the configuration that is on your volatile RAM. Remember that volatile, if you remove the power, everything gets erased. So if you're working on this and the power goes out in your building, and let's say you spend like an hour configuring the device, you have to restart, all right? Nothing got saved. You need to save everything to your startup configuration file, which is gonna be stored in your NVRAM. If we do show startup config, there's nothing there yet. Not until we say copy running config, startup config. The operating system sees this command and it hears this. Copy the running configuration file to the startup configuration file, right? Once you do this, it's gonna ask you, what do you wanna name the file? And by default, it's gonna ask you, do you wanna name it startup config? You're gonna say yes. You can just hit enter, or if you want to name it something differently, maybe you wanna have a copy of different ones saved or stored, then you can do that here. If not, you can just hit enter or press Y, and it should say building configuration. Okay, so now when I say show startup dash config, now it's gonna show me the configuration like when we say show running config, okay? But this is the configuration that's saved in the non-volatile RAM, okay? So let's do something here real quick. I'm going to remove the password. I'm not sure if they're gonna give us different steps here, but I'm gonna remove the password so you can see what's happening. I'm gonna say no enable password. All right, so look at what happens. I'm gonna say show running dash config. And you'll notice the password is gone, okay? Now, what happens when I say show startup config? The password's still there. So remember that when you're working and changing configurations, there's two different files. One saved in the RAM, volatile RAM, one saved in the non-volatile RAM, okay? The one that's a non-volatile RAM, that one's stored permanently until you delete it. The one that's saved on RAM is the one that the device is using right now to operate. So whenever you change the configurations, it's gonna change to that one, but it's not gonna change it on the other one unless you copy the running config to your startup config. And I will add this. I don't know if it removed a grid for me, so I'm gonna do config T and enable password. And if I wanna reset and go back to the startup config, I could restart, and whatever's in your startup config is gonna read that file and it's gonna upload it whenever you restart the operating system. Never let me in. It should be password. Didn't give me a grade for it, so I think it doesn't matter. All right, that I removed it. All right, so copy running config, we did that. What's the shortest abbreviation version of the copy running config? So a shortcut would be exit, right? Copy, run, start. That is your shortcut. So if you don't want to type the entire command, then you can type copy, run, start, and the operating system is going to read it as copy my running configuration into the startup configuration. Or back up this file is pretty much what you're doing. Okay, which command will display the contents of NVRAM? Again, that is show startup config. Are all the changes that were entered recorded into the file? The answer is yes. I already showed you that. All right, so now they're asking us to configure S2, all right, without the help that we had for S1. So I'm just gonna do another keyword that you can use to do the same thing as copy, run, start is write. This will do the same thing, and it's a lot faster. And you have a shortcut, which is WR, which will do the same thing, and it's a lot faster. All right, so I'm gonna go back. We configured S1, so now they want us to do the same thing, only without the instructions, without the help that they gave us before, just telling us what we need to do. Here's the fun part. Device name, change the device name, good. Host name, S2. Protect access to console port, I know how to do that too. Awesome. That's line const 0, shortcut, right? Password. They want us to be let me in, so same password as before. Let me in. And again, don't forget login. That's what's gonna enable the password. I'm gonna exit just for because I want to, I guess. Configure and enable password. All right, so configure enable password is to secure the privilege mode. Remember that. Enable, and they want a password, not secret. They don't want to encrypt it, so we're gonna use enable password. You have to pay attention to this when they're asking you to do what they're asking. The password is Charlie1 $Charlie0 to get a grade for this. So now I have secured the password, but it's plain text, so it's not encrypted. Next is, so it said configure enable password for the device and an enable secret password. So now we're gonna do the same thing, only for it. Now we're gonna do an encrypted password. Enable secret, and it's a secret. All right, good. You should be seeing your percentage go up. Configure an appropriate message to those logging into the switch. So it's talking about a banner of the day. All right. So for that, you do this from global configuration mode. This banner MOTD message of the day, and then you need some type of character at the beginning, at the end. You can do a pound sign, a dollar sign, or a quotation. I'm gonna use quotation in case it matters in the packet tracer. And what they want you to type for this, they might not be checking what you type on there since they didn't specify, but I'm gonna go back and copy the message for the other device and paste it on here, just in case, if I can find it. Service password, here it is. Banner of the day. This is a secure, and it should already be on a clipboard anyway, but just in case. And again, paste, and I'm gonna make sure that there's that quotation mark at the end, and then I'm gonna hit enter, and I should get a percentage for that. Scroll back all the way to the bottom. Encrypt all plain text passwords. So all the passwords that are not encrypted, let's encrypt those. Service password dash encryption. I just use tab to complete my command there, and then enter. Brought me to 87%. All right. Ensure that the configuration is correct. You will not get a grade for this one, but you can do show run and go through the configuration. Make sure that you configured everything. There's your host name. There's your command service password encryption. This is stuff for the device itself. You can ignore that. All right, then you have your secret password, your enabled password encrypted. Scroll down through all the different interfaces. There's the banner of the day. Line count 0, the password for line count 0 encrypted. And they didn't ask anything for the remote lines. Save the configuration file to avoid loss. So if the power goes out at this point, then I lose everything. So for that reason, I have to do copy or unstart or write, and it should work. Now I'm missing something. Now to make sure, to see what you're missing, because I don't know what step I missed, you can click on check results. Let's do that real quick. And then once here, you can go to assessment items, and it'll tell you everything that it's checking for. So remember that I removed the enabled password and I typed it in again. That's the problem that I'm having right now. So let's go back. I probably typed the wrong one, and it's probably on switch one. So I can close this. I'm gonna put my instructions back to the right. Move all the way to the top to find that password let me in, which I thought I typed in the exact thing that's there. So I'm gonna go back to switch. Maybe because I didn't save it afterwards. No, I did save it. So let me do show run and see, well, it's gonna be encrypted. So config T, all I'm gonna do is no enable password and remove it and do it again. Password let me in, enter. Oh, misspelled it. Enable password, I'm missing that keyword. And nope, it didn't like it. Did it say enable password or enable secret that I was looking for? On device one. Yeah, so erasing it messed it up for me. But you guys should be getting 100% on there. Do you have 100% or did you remove the password too?
I do not have 100%. I'm at 94.
All right, so let's see if maybe they were looking for a different password here. Sometimes the packet tracers from Cisco have issues and problems. So even if you do everything correct, is not gonna work. Now it's saying the enable password is incorrect. Oh, this is for the console, that's why. All right, so let me go. This is the password they're looking for. Yeah. All right, so enable password, Charlie Charlie $1, Charlie 0. Now you should get to 100% and you're good to go. All right, let me stop recording and